Welcome back to the Recap Central. Today we'll be recapping The Tomorrow War, 2021, directed by Chris McKay, is a film about time travelers from the future who come to the past to recruit humans to fight in a future war to prevent extinction in the current timeline. Let's get started. The movie commences in Miami Beach, where Dan Forrester, played by Chris Pratt, and several other soldiers descend from the sky into a devastated landscape. Flashback 28 years to December 2022. Dan, a biology teacher, resides with his wife Emmy, played by Betty Gilpin, and daughter Maury, played by Ryan Kiera Armstrong. At a Christmas party, Dan anxiously awaits news about a job at a research institute. A phone call informs him that someone else got the position. As he rejoins his family to watch the World Cup, a mysterious wormhole opens in the arena. Soldiers from the future, led by Lieutenant Hart, played by Jasmine Matthews, emerge and reveal that humanity will face extinction in 30 years due to an alien invasion. A year later, riots and anti-war protests intensify with casualties rising from the draft. Hope for the future diminishes, and even Dan's students struggle to focus on their work, resigned to an impending doom. Dan is drafted and, after evaluation, discovers he qualifies due to his death between the present and the invasion. A time-jumping device is placed on his arm, and it's revealed he was a squad leader in Iraq 15 years ago. Given 24 hours, Dan visits Emmy at her job, where she helps draft returnees. She reveals that only Dan's estranged father, James, played by J.K. Simmons, can ensure their safety. Dan, resentful of James for abandoning him and his mother, seeks his help. James, living off the grid, distrusts the government. He refuses, claiming he would have only made things worse. Dan returns home, breaks the news of his draft to Emmy and Maury, and bids them farewell. At the draft, he meets fellow recruits Cowan, played by Mike Mitchell, Charlie, played by Sam Richardson, Dorian, played by Edwin Hodge, Nora, played by Mary Lynn Rajskub. The recruits learn about time jumping and the mission plan. Charlie explains they send people who died before the war to avoid paradoxes. Dorian mentions jumping back after killing an alien, referred to as white spikes. Without any prior preparation, the conscripts receive an alert to pass through the jump link into the future, arriving unexpectedly on Miami Beach. However, the operation goes awry as the conscripts are dropped from a much higher altitude than planned, resulting in several fatalities as they plummet to the ground. Dan and his comrades, including others who land in the water, manage to survive. Upon reaching safety, Dan reports to Romeo Command, led by Colonel Forrester, played by Yvonne Strahovski, who informs them that the military has initiated a comprehensive bombardment to eradicate any living entities in the area. The team is tasked with rescuing lab personnel before the impending bombardment. As they advance into the facility, they discover the lab crew deceased, but they retrieve the valuable research. The team encounters the fast and deadly white spikes with whip-like tails. In the ensuing chaos, some members are lost, including Cowan, who falls through a tunnel. Nora and Cowan sacrifice themselves to hold off the white spikes before the military bombs the tunnel, eliminating Nora, Cowan, and the remaining creatures. The surviving conscripts wake up in a camp in the Dominican Republic, where Dan meets Colonel Maury, an adult version of Yvonne Strahovski's character. There is estrangement between them as Maury expresses discontent with Dan for going through with the draft. She discloses that her team has located a female white spike whose physiology could be crucial in defeating the hive. The team locates the female, but a horde of male white spikes descends upon them. In the ensuing struggle, the soldiers fight off the creatures, ultimately managing to cage the female. Maury reprimands Dan for nearly compromising the mission to save her. She then reveals that Dan died 7 years after the draft, in a car accident witnessed by Maury. This occurred after Dan returned from the draft, became disillusioned, left his family, and explains Maury's estrangement toward him. The team transports the female white spike to an oil rig with a jump link to extract a toxin from her blood that can eliminate all white spikes. However, the base is overrun by more aliens, leading to a fierce battle. As the jump link's time expires, the female breaks free, causing a bridge collapse with Maury on it. Despite Dan's attempt to save her, Maury lets go, choosing to die with the female, while Dan and surviving conscripts return to their present year. Back in the present, Dan futilely attempts to use the now offline jump link to save Maury. He retains the toxin, unable to part with it. Dan returns home and discusses his encounter with Maury with Emmy, who suggests that the aliens may have been on Earth long before the 2048 invasion, possibly thought out by global warming. Investigating further with Dorian, who is revealed to have terminal cancer, they find white spike ash from Russia on a claw. Dan, Charlie, and Dorian seek government approval for a mission to Russia but are denied. Turning to James for assistance, they reach Russia and discover the site of frozen white spikes. The ship that brought them was intended for a different species, carrying the white spikes as cargo to eradicate other planets. The team injects the toxin, but the aliens wake up and attack. In a desperate battle, Dorian sacrifices himself with a bomb to obliterate the white spikes. However, the female white spike survives and pursues Dan and James. After an intense confrontation, Dan manages to inject the toxin into the female's throat, causing her demise and ending the white spike threat for good. News of the war's prevention spreads, with the earlier denied government official taking credit. Dan reunites with Emmy and Maury, introducing Maury to James. If you liked this recap, check out our next one. Alita, Battle Angel, 2019, directed by Robert Rodriguez, is a film that takes place in the year 2563, a cyborg found in a scrapyard by a scientist who rebuilds her. The cyborg then sets out to uncover her destiny in a post-apocalyptic world. See you guys on the next one.